It has been so long since the last time I actually completed a monthly TBR. I think I've only ever done it once, maybe twice. I don't even remember. Definitely once, maybe twice. And last month was one of the worst months I've had. I read one book from my monthly TBR. Just one. I feel like usually I'll read at least a few, usually at least like 3, I would say. But I want to have another month where I actually complete them all. So that's what we're going to focus on this week. These are all of the books on my monthly TBR for September. We have 6 total, but I have already read 2 of them. So I have read Love Unwritten and I have read Girl Serpent Thorn. So that leaves us with 4. So for the next week, I'm going to be focusing on these books. I'm going to try and finish all of them. We'll see how we go. Let's talk about these for a second. So first of all, we have Wild Eyes, which is the second book in the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. I enjoyed the first one, but I do think I like the Chestnut Springs series better. But I'm hoping that this book might change my mind. Maybe this will be a new favorite for me. This is like a small town romance kind of vibe, cowboy kind of vibe, and all of the books in this series are going to be single dad, which I do love. This book follows Weston and Skylar, so I'm excited about that one. Then we have another romance. This is a newer release. I got sent this one in PR a little bit ago, and this is about a girl who lives in Brisbane, which is where I live, and she goes to live in New York. And I just had a vacation in New York, so it just felt like a very fitting time to read this. And it sounds like she has some really ambitious plans of what her life is going to look like in New York, and things just don't go according to that plan. Oh my gosh, it's like just over 300 pages, which is gorgeous. We also have Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. This is the author of the Truly Devious series. If you've seen these covers, that is the Truly Devious series, and I love that series. This is a brand new world, brand new characters, and it's about a girl who gets a job at a haunted house, which sounds really interesting. So this is a YA thriller, YA mystery, one of those. I love the cover of this. It's so beautiful. And then lastly, we have a reread. This is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I read this for the first time in 2021 and I haven't read it since. So I would love to give it a reread. I would love ideally to annotate it. We'll see if I have enough time to do that or the patience to do that. But I'm so intrigued to see what I think about it as a reread. So those are the 4 books we're going to focus on over the next week. We'll see how we go. I don't know what I want to start with. Maybe Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I really like her writing. I feel like it's just super like easy to digest, super quick. I always enjoy her characters and the banter, and the romance is always so fun. So maybe we'll start with Wild Eyes. Reading update. I'm almost halfway through this book and I started it yesterday afternoon, but it is just flying by. I'm really enjoying this. It's just fun. You know what? I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not, but I really like kids in books. I think kids in books, for the most part, like most of the time, make it really funny and really entertaining and can make situations awkward, which can be funny, or like they just say such out-of-pocket things, which is quite funny. And I just really enjoy kids in books, and there are 2 kids in this book. Like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure every book in this series is going to be a single dad or like single parent romance. And West is a father of 2. He has a 6-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. And the 6-year-old girl is just like super loud and rambunctious and just like a lot, you know, but in the best way possible, like really funny, really entertaining. And then the 8-year-old boy is just this sweet, quiet, very like wise, almost like an old soul kind of boy. And he's just the cutest ever. And I'm just loving their contribution to this book. I will say as well, sometimes I feel like kids in books make it a bit like, in my brain, when there's like a romance going on, I'm like, where are the kids? Where are the kids? Sometimes logistically, kids can make a book kind of difficult, or I'll be like, who is looking after the kids right now? Like, where are the kids in this situation? And it's just like not mentioned. And like the author kind of forgets about the kids for periods of time. But in this book, West and his wife are divorced and they have split custody. And so it makes a lot more sense logistically because they'll do part-time with their dad, part-time with their mum. So when they're with their mum, there's a lot more like one-on-one time that can happen between the 2 love interests. And then obviously when the kids are there, they're just making the book quite entertaining and it's a bit more like family focused rather than like romance focused. focused, if that makes sense. But I think it's just like set up quite well. So West is, I don't know like what, he's a horse trainer, or he works with horses. I'm not sure like his actual title, but he works with horses. And then we have Skylar, our FMC, and she is a famous singer, famous country singer specifically, I think. And the setup is basically Skylar is in a very difficult situation with like just her whole life is being controlled and she feels like she has no freedom. And so she decides to drive to Rose Hill and meet with Ford, who owns a recording company. And we met Ford because he was the MMC in the first book in this series. And she turns up at Ford's recording studio and is like, I want to record an album with you on my own accord, not because I have to or not because I'm being told to, but because I want to do it. So that is why she has come to Rose Hill. That's why she's in the situation, but she needs somewhere to stay. And so she ends up staying with West because he has like a guest house situation. So that's definitely like the main setup. I will say there was definitely like immediate attraction and like immediate like chemistry, I guess, between West and Skylar. And at first I was like, it's almost a bit insta-lovey. I'm like, I'm not going to be invested in this. Like, I prefer a slow burn. I either like them to start off very like hesitant of each other or just like become friends before they actually like get feelings for each other, or at least like don't make it too obvious to me. Like, that's what I prefer. So it kind of started off a bit strong for my liking, but then they kind of were like, let's just be friends. And so now they're kind of just friends, but you can tell that they obviously like each other. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. I really like the situations we've been dealing with. Like, the scenes are really fun. Like, there was a scene in like the stable where like they're mucking out the stalls together, and there was like a scene of West being the coach of his kids' soccer team and Skylar kind of like helping out with that. Like, it's really fun. Like, all of the scenes in my brain are just very fun. And obviously no spoilers, but I just read a scene that focused on like the boys bowling club, bowling group. I don't know what the situation is, but you get introduced to that little like bowling crew in the first book, and to be able to like see them again in the second book. And now we're obviously reading from a different POV. We're reading from different characters, but we still get to see the characters that we were introduced to in the first book. And we're getting like a bit of like a found family aspect, because obviously as each book progresses, we get to know that group a little bit more. And I'm assuming there'll be future books in this series about the couples that we meet in that little bowling group. And I just love how Elsie Silver does found family. I think she does such a phenomenal job. Specifically, obviously, in the Chestnut Spring series, the family dinners were always like my favorite scenes in the Chestnut Spring series. And so now I feel like we're gonna get a similar vibe to that kind of like found family aspect in these books too. And it always like takes at least, I think, 2 books to really kind of get invested in a found family situation. I feel like sometimes in fantasy, you can definitely get that in 1 book, but I feel like with romance, like interconnected standalone series, it always takes me at least 2 books to kind of get invested. So I feel like I'm starting to really like, wait, I like these people. These people are really fun, and I like how they're looking after each other. They're acting like a family. So I am almost halfway through, and I think I'm honestly going to try and binge the rest of this today. I don't think it will take me very long, because it's just one of those bingeable books you can just sit and read. I'm really intrigued to see what the plot is going to be. I don't know. It just doesn't feel very plot heavy to me so far, but I don't really mind that. Sometimes that really bothers me, but at the moment that's not bothering me, so we'll see. I feel like there does need to be some sort of like, I don't know, clear direction or like clear challenge that the characters are working through for me to stay interested. So we'll see. But I feel like we've got a really great introduction, a really great foundation for the book. I feel like we know West quite well, we know his kids quite well, we know Skylar quite well, we know the side characters quite well now. We've kind of established the friend group, so it's a great book in my opinion so far. And I think I am definitely liking this one more than the first book, in my opinion. So far, so good. But I'll update you guys later when I've read some more. As soon as you get to the part of the book where they're like, wow, I didn't realize life could be this good. I didn't realize life could be this perfect. I have everything I've ever wanted. Life is so wonderful. You just know at that point, everything's gonna fall apart. Something bad is gonna happen. Everything's gonna fall apart, because no author can just let their couples be happy. It just doesn't exist. And in saying that, I understand that that's how books have to work. But I just hate it when I get to the point where they're just like, wow, life is so good, because you just know everything is about to crumble. I'm still still really enjoying this though, guys. It's just really fun. Slightly cringy at times, but you know what? That's often what happens in a romance book, so I'm not really complaining about that. But I think I'm just gonna sit and binge the rest of this because I haven't got much left. Like 60 pages maybe. I just finished Wild Eyes and that was so fun. I really enjoyed this one. I think I can officially say now that this is my favorite from the Rose Hill series so far. But in saying that, they tell you at the end who the next book is going to be about because there is a sneak peek. I won't say just in case it's like fun for you to find out for yourself, but it does say that it's going to be called Wild Side. And yeah, you get to know which two characters it's about. And I'm very intrigued to see that story because I feel like there's a lot of mystery surrounding those characters. Like there's a lot that they're just like not saying and I want to know what the situation is. And there's also like a hint to which like trope that book is going to be about. And I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued. That'll be really fun. I wonder what the cover's going to look like because these are some of my favorite covers. They're so beautiful. Also, I was reading the acknowledgements and I didn't realize that Elsie Silver and Catherine Cowles are like besties. And that's so fun because I really enjoy Catherine Cowles books as well. I read like, I don't even know, maybe like 7 or 8 of them and I really, really like them. In the acknowledgements, it says, "My friend Catherine Cowles, the person I write with pretty much every day. I will never stop thanking the universe for bringing us together. I don't have a sister, but you feel like one." Isn't that so cute? I love it when I find out that authors are besties. That's just so cutie. Also, the other fun thing about this book is obviously, like I mentioned, Skylar is a singer. And in the book, you can like read the lyrics to the songs that she writes. But someone told me that if you listen to the audiobook, they actually sing the songs and they like made it, like recorded the songs. But I also feel like someone told me it was on Spotify. Yes. When I didn't need saving, just so fun. Anyway, I just love little things like that, like little details that authors put effort into doing because I assume that she would have had to like hire someone to do that. Also, one of my favorite things to do after finishing a book is look up the aesthetic on Pinterest. Oh, stop! I love it! I feel like cowboy / like small town romances always have the best aesthetics. Look at this one. How cute is that? Oh, I'm obsessed. I love it. That's so cute. Anyway, I'm probably just gonna stalk this for a while. But as for my rating, I think you're kidding. This is literally them. That's so cute. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. I think for my rating, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Maybe 4.25. We'll see like how I feel after I've like sat on it for a bit, but I think at the moment it's like a 4 or 4.25. It was just a lot of fun. I really liked the characters. I really liked the kids. West was just such a fun dad and I loved seeing like his goofy side. I liked Skylar a lot. I do wish we had a bit more like plot or a bit more like, I don't know, it's weird to me because this is like 450 pages, so it's not a short book, but it felt a bit shorter than that. Like I just wish we'd had almost just like a few more in between scenes of just like seeing them hang out and seeing them have fun together and seeing them hang out with the kids and see them spend time with their friends. Like we got that one scene of all of like the found family, like friends hanging out, but I wish we'd had a little, well maybe a couple more than one main one where they were like all together, the boys and the girls, because the girls also had like a dinner at one other time. But yeah, I just wish we'd had a little bit more. It didn't quite give me that like 5-star feeling, but I did really enjoy it. And there's just something about a small town romance that I will always enjoy. I'll eat it up every single time. Love them. But anyway, that book is complete. I'm kind of sad that it's over. That was a really fun one. And I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. Part of me thinks like I have a couple of hours where I have no plans. And I'm kind of like, what should I do? I don't know what I want to read next. I think I either want to read Death at Morning House, which is like the thriller kind of vibe, or beach read, because today is Friday and I'm going away for the weekend and I don't know how much reading I'm realistically going to get done. And so I feel like beach read might be good to take with me on that trip because I feel like I don't have to spend as much mental power on it to be able to understand what's going on, if that makes sense, because I've already read it. Onto the red pile, and I think I'm gonna go for this one. Pretty sure last time I spoke to you guys, I had decided that I was going to start Beach Read by Emily Henry, and that was kind of it. Well, now it is a couple of days later. I went away for the weekend. I think I mentioned that I was doing that. We went away for the weekend with family, had the best time ever, but did I read a single page of this book during the weekend? No, I did not. However, I did pick it up before we left and after we got back, so I actually have made quite a bit of progress in my reread. I am now at page 186, chapter 17. I guess like a little over halfway if I had to guess. How many pages is it? 360, so yeah, a little over halfway. And I've also been annotating it. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I am just having the time of my life doing this reread. I am utterly obsessed. It's interesting because I feel like I do remember pretty much everything. Everything feels very familiar to me. Like there's not been anything that I've read where I'm like, oh, I don't remember that at all. But there are definitely scenes that have like stayed with me that I've thought about often. And there are some scenes that I haven't thought about, I think, really since I read it. So rereading the scenes that I just don't think about as often have been really fun. And the quotes in this book are just phenomenal. The writing is just phenomenal. The way I feel like I know January and Gus so well because of how it's written is just crazy. Like I simply don't know how Emily Henry does it. Obviously she is such a well-loved author, well-respected author. I feel like she is a favorite among many people, but for good reason. Like her books are just on another level. I don't even know how to explain it. I feel like they're books that if you don't read them slowly, you won't, or you may not kind of get hit with the full effect of what they are. Like there are so many very small quotes where if you don't pay attention, you might miss how important they are or the foreshadowing that's going on. I don't know, Emily Henry's writing is very simple at times, but just so well done. Oh my gosh. I could read these quotes forever. This is definitely reinforcing the fact that this is not only just a 5-star read for me, but 100,000,000% it is a 6-star read for me. It makes me want to reread her entire backlist actually, which hopefully I'll get to at some point, but I don't know. Hopefully I'll get to them, but I'm very glad that I'm annotating this, tabbing it, underlining quotes that stick out to me, because I feel like I'll be able to kind of just flick back through this whenever I just kind of need a little bit of January and Gus. I think Emily Henry does this incredible job of creating characters that are so relatable, and I don't actually know how she does it because I feel like I relate to so many of Emily Henry's characters, yet none of them are characters that I feel like I could relate to in every way, but I can relate to them in some way, if that makes sense. Like there are very specific parts of January that I feel like are so me, and there are very particular parts of Gus that I feel like I can relate to so strongly. Overall as characters, I'm not exactly like either of them, but for some reason I can just completely relate to very certain parts, very specific parts of them. And I just don't know how she does that. Like I feel so attached to these characters because I can see parts of my story in their stories, or I've been through similar things that maybe they've been through. So it obviously creates a very tangible emotion, a very strong emotion. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop because I could really ramble about this for a very long time. But this book is just an absolute masterpiece to me. Like it truly is just everything and more. I think my favorite is still Happy Place at this point, but I'll need to do a reread and like see if that still stands, because I think Harriet is just on another level for me. Like that book just really felt like it had eyes into my soul. But this kind of feels a bit like that too. Anyway, I said I was gonna stop talking, then I didn't. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. I freaking love Augustus Everett. I've never met someone who is so perfectly my favorite person. So good. So good. In my opinion, this is a near perfect book. I am so glad I did that reread because I just had the best time. Like truly the best time. This book is just absolutely phenomenal. I feel like I could honestly talk about this book for hours and hours and hours, and like the quotes and the characters and all of the things that it made me feel. You can tell that I loved a lot of this book because there are so many annotations in there now. It just makes me want to go back and reread literally everything that Emily Henry has written because I just love her writing so much. Definitely a 6-star read for me, like definitely. But anyway, overall thoughts are obviously I'm obsessed with this. Some things that just stand out to me from this book are mostly to do with the characters. I feel like Emily Henry just creates the most complicated but like well-rounded characters. They all just have so much to them, and I appreciate literally every single character she's ever written, and I definitely have a special place in my heart for January and Gus. I feel like they both just, I don't know, have a lot to them and also a lot of character development. I think I probably relate to Gus more than I can relate to January, but I definitely relate to parts of both of them. And I definitely feel like when I read Emily Henry books, I always feel a lot more tied to the literary fiction side of her books more than the romance. Don't get me wrong, I love the romances that she writes, especially like this one is beautiful because it's a bit of a slow burn. It takes like a while for things to progress, but you can tell they have such deep feelings for each other before it like progresses physically, which I love. I love a slow burn. I love like a friends to lovers situation. You can tell that Gus and January just love hanging out. Like even if they weren't in love, they would just be best friends, and that's like my favorite type of romance where it's not just like sexual chemistry, like there's actually like deep feelings there, and I feel like Emily Henry just writes those types of romances very well. However, I do feel like the character development, the literary side of things is really like what always sets her books apart for me, because I feel like she always just gives me so much to think about. And as much as I love Emily Henry banter, I love the way she does like rom-coms where she writes like funny little scenes and funny little witty banter. I will never think of her books as like rom-coms. Like whenever like, oh, I love Emily Henry's rom-coms, I'm like, they are literally heart-shattering, like make me want to cry and think about so many of my life decisions. That's how I feel about Emily Henry books. Not just like, oh, cute little beach read, you know? Like it's like earth-shattering, soul-searching stuff. Anyway, we're done with this. And that means another one to add to the pile of our read books, and these are the two that we have left for our monthly TBR. I don't know if I'll be able to finish both of them in this video, but I think I'm going to pick up Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA thriller mystery about a girl who gets a summer job, I'm thinking, at a haunted house. I'm not really sure, but I love Maureen Johnson's writing, so I'm excited to see what this one is all about. Ooh, a map. I wasn't expecting a map. Oh, it's on an island. Okay, I'm loving the vibes. I'm loving the vibes. Been absolutely binging this book. I am up to chapter 17, so I'm over halfway, and I literally started this book this morning. But now that I've read a decent chunk of this, I thought I could give you a better description about what this book is actually about, because I think I mentioned that it was about a haunted house, and that's not quite the case. It's not so much a haunted house as in like supernatural kind of ghosty vibes, as much as it is an old house where there have been some mysterious deaths and no one really has all the answers. So yeah, no like supernatural vibes, more so just like no one really knows what's going on and no one really has all of the answers about these deaths that have happened at this house. So we are following our main character Marlo. She got a new summer job at this island, I guess, where Morning House is located, and it's like on this tiny, well, it has a literal picture actually at the front, which I briefly showed you. Ralston Island, it looks like this. So it's just this tiny little island, and right in the center there is Morning House. But Morning House is this beautiful old, I guess you would say like a manor, almost like a castle a little bit. I don't think it's like quite castle level, but this beautiful old building that has this incredible architecture. And there was a family who lived there in the 1930s. They were very wealthy. The father was a doctor. He had servants, lots of kids, all of that sort of thing. But there were a couple of deaths that happened at Morning House in the 1930s. And no one really ever found out completely what happened. There's a lot lot of rumors and like speculation about what went down and what the family was like, because it turns out the family was quite odd as well. Like I said, it was his dad and he had all of these kids, but they were mostly foster kids, and he put them on this very like strict routine, and he was very like particular in what they ate and what they did and how they lived their lives. And so because there was this like kind of odd family that lived in this beautiful house and these mysterious deaths that happened, it has created a bit of like a tourist destination where now tourists can come and have like a tour around the island and like see the beautiful house and the architecture, and also hear stories and rumors and speculation about the actual family who lived there. So Marlo has been hired as a tour guide at Morning House, and also she is able to like live on the island in like a guest house situation with a bunch of other teenagers who are also doing their summer jobs at this island in various different touristy activities. They do have like a manager kind of situation that oversees what they're doing, so they're not just like these teenagers running amok on this island. It is still somewhat controlled, but that's kind of the situation you're following. We have a past and present timeline. The past timeline follows the family, or like some of the characters from the family who were living in the house in the 1930s, because there's some mysterious stuff going on there, and so we're trying to figure out how these deaths occurred, what really happened there. And then the present timeline is where we are following Marlo, and whilst she thinks that she's kind of like getting away from her little hometown and all of the things that are kind of not going super well in her personal life and escaping to this fun little summer job, it turns out there's some interesting things happening within the group of teenagers that she is working with, and it turns out one of the members of the friend group that she is now working with passed away kind of recently, and everyone says it was just this big accident, no foul play, no sort of suspicious activity related to this death. But the more Marlo kind of hears about it, the more she's like, I don't know if it was also innocent and just some crazy random mistake. So it is a little bit different from Maureen Johnson's other series, Truly Devious, where in that one our main character is very much like, I am a detective, I am here to figure out these like cold cases and these mysteries, actively trying to figure these things out. Whereas in this one, Marlo enters into this situation with no desire to be figuring this sort of stuff out, but it kind of just ends up in her lap, and so she ends up being like, well, I'm gonna figure this out because this seems suspicious. So it definitely follows the same pattern as I feel like a lot of Maureen Johnson's books tend to follow, with the past and present timeline, the multiple mysteries going on, and it's a fun time. I'm enjoying it. I don't think I like it as much as Truly Devious, at least so far, like that little series, because I feel like I was just more attached to the characters in that series, but maybe it was because I read more books from that series. Obviously I was with those characters for multiple books, whereas this one I haven't been with them for that long. I've been with them for like 200 pages, so it's a bit harder to be as attached to them. But I also just feel like the mystery isn't as like crazy or shocking maybe as the other ones. Like I felt very intrigued by the mysteries in the Truly Devious series, whereas this one is like, oh, it's interesting and it's entertaining and I'm having a really great time reading it, but it's not as like, oh my gosh, like what could possibly be happening. I'm hoping that I may have some of those moments as things get revealed and we figure things out, because I'm sure there are some characters in this book that are not as innocent as they seem. And I'm thinking I'll probably finish this one today because it's just so quick to fly through. That's something I love about Maureen Johnson's books. They just fly by. YA mystery always tends to do that. So I'm just having so much fun with this and I'm really glad I picked it up. We finished Death at Morning House, and this was so much fun. This was just like the epitome of a fun, entertaining read. It's definitely not a 5-star read. It's definitely not one that I think I'll think about very often, but it was just like a fun time. It was just a quick little fun read, and I'm glad that I read it. And I literally binged this in one day, so if you're looking for a bingeable read, maybe this is the one. I wouldn't say it's crazy fast-paced, but I would say it's just like easy to digest. It's not like that much thought. I feel like YA mystery and thrillers are a little bit easier to digest compared to adult thrillers and mysteries. Like you don't have to work as hard to understand what's going on in a young adult mystery or thriller, which makes sense. These are designed for teenagers and I am in my mid-20s reading this, so I know that I'm not the demographic for this, but I just love a little YA mystery and thriller. I do still think that Truly Devious, like that series, is stronger better. I think the original trilogy are like the best ones, and then the 2 spin-offs are still fun but not quite as good in my opinion. But if you liked her other books, I definitely think this one is worth the read. Or if you haven't read any of Maureen Johnson's book but don't want to commit to a full trilogy slash series, maybe this is the one for you. I think if you like Jennifer Lynn Barnes or Holly Jackson, Maureen Johnson might just be an author for you to try out. But that means another book is making it to the red pile. This is just the best feeling. One more. Do I actually have time to read this? I'm not really sure. Technically the week ends tomorrow, so I would have to finish this tonight to like really make it happen in a week. I really don't think I'm going to finish another book today, but maybe I can start it. It's the next day now, and that means it has officially been 1 week since I started this video. And of course, the whole purpose of this video was to see how much of my TBR I could read in 1 week. So I need to stop it now. Just to give you one little last update, I did start Love Unleashed by Melanie Saward. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I got about 55 pages in. So I've made a start, obviously nowhere near done, so I can't include this one as like being read. But I am enjoying this one so far. This is, if I haven't mentioned, about a girl who lives in Brisbane. Her dream is to work for a publishing house in New York. So she leaves her life behind in Brisbane. She is grieving her mother who passed away recently, and she is just creating a new life for herself in New York City. However, not everything is going to plan. Her dream of working for a publishing house is not as easy as she originally thought it would be. So she is just trying to make ends meet, kind of just figure it out as she goes, and it's actually really interesting so far. I've only just gotten to the point where she has kind of like found a place to move into. She has a roommate, and now she's trying to find a job because it's not as easy to get the exact job that she wanted. So now she's just trying to get something that will pay the bills basically until she can get her dream job. But so far, so good. It feels very real so far. Like, it feels very much like it could be just someone's like blog or something that I'm reading of someone who is actually making the move to New York City to try and chase their dreams. It definitely doesn't feel like fluffy or like silly or anything like that yet. So I'm intrigued to keep reading this, but again, I won't be completing it in this vlog. But we did read 3 books in this video. Just to give a quick recap, we read Wild Eyes, which I gave 4 stars. We did a reread of Beach Read, which of course was 5 stars. And then Death at Morning House, I think I'm gonna give it like a 3.75. I thought it was really entertaining and really fun, but it wasn't like amazing to me. Not quite a 4-star for me, but still had a lot of fun. And that means out of the 6 books, oh my gosh, I'm gonna drop this. Out of the 6 books that I had on my monthly TBR this month, we ended up reading 5. So I am very, very happy with that, and I'm hoping that I'll still be able to maybe complete this last one here before the end of September. But you guys will have to wait and see my wrap up to see if I finished it. So I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and I guess I'll see you guys in my next video very soon. Goodbye.